Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my Monday motivation. So this week, I want to tell to you about taking the leap of faith. So when I was in 2016, I suffered a devastating loss. I lost my dear sister to cancer, and for me, it was one of the worst things that could ever happen to me. But it also taught me a very valuable lesson. The lesson was that life is not a given, and that life could be very short, and that tomorrow is not guaranteed, and that if you have a dream or if you want to do something, that the time to do it is now. I also took a look at my life and it gave me a different perspective of things around me, and I realized that I was so very unhappy in my job, and that the only way that I could change it was by taking that leap of faith. I started praying to God to give me a sign, to tell me if I needed to change and what I needed to do. And I prayed fervently for many days. And in March, in the beginning of March, one Sunday morning in church, Dominee Jan spoke about the sparrows. And he spoke specifically about the scripture in Matthew 10, verse 29 to 31. And the scripture says, "Yet none of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care, and even the hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid, you are worth more than many sparrows." And that to me was my first confirmation. He told the story about Annette Marais that was looking for a way to encourage the women in the Butuli concentration camp many years ago in the Boer War. And how she also prayed to God, and how God gave her the scripture, and suddenly 2 sparrows came and sat on the ground eating the crumbs from the ground, and it just gave them so much hope in that concentration camp. And those 2, she actually told the story to the general at the time, Delaray, and he actually made it to go onto the 1-cent coin, that we know today with the 2 sparrows on. So to me, that was my very first confirmation. My next confirmation was the next morning as I got into my car. I always listen to a radio pulpit in the morning, the morning devotions at 6. And Dominee Jan Els was actually quoting the very exact same scripture. And then after he gave his devotion, he played the song from Whitney Houston, "His Eye is on the Sparrow," which is a beautiful song. Take the time to go listen to that song and the words of that song. To me, that was my second confirmation. Later in the day, my husband sent me a pic of the 1-cent coin, just the coin, nothing else. No words, nothing, just the coin. And that to me was my third confirmation. I immediately wrote my letter of resignation and I handed it in. And it felt like a whole mountain was lifted from my shoulders. And to this day, I can just be thankful, because every month God has looked after me. I've had work. When I resigned, I had no job. There was no prospect or anything. So I just took the leap of faith. And from the day that I stopped working at that company, I have been working ever since, every day. God has been so good to me. And that's just my encouragement to you for this week, is to say that if you are struggling with something, when you have to make a decision, to pray about it. And if God gives you those confirmations, don't ignore them. Because once you ask for help and you receive that and you don't do it, then it's like putting your talents under a bushel. God specifically sends us signs from His word, from everywhere, to encourage us and to give us hope. So I hope that this will inspire one of you today to say that I'm ready to take that leap of faith, and that I'm going to allow God to take care of me. Because that's really what it is. When you have faith, you really believe that God will take care of you and that it's not in your hands. So I hope this encourages you for the week, and I want you to stay safe and keep on praying, and I will see you next week.